The valley of the shadow of death, and I fear no evil because I'm blind to it all. In my mind, my gun, they comfort me, because I know I'll kill my enemies when they come. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell on this earth forevermore. Said I walk beside the still waters and they restore my soul. But I can't walk on the path of the right because I'm wrong. No, I can't walk on the path of the right because I'm wrong.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
PlayStation.
Please welcome Andy McNamara.
Lucky today to get to moderate a panel on The Last of Us Part 2. And so without further ado, I will introduce people that I know it's a little cliche, I don't think need introduction. We have Neil Druckmann, writer, director. We have Ashley Johnson, plays Ellie. And we have Troy Baker, Joel, The Last of Us. Hey. Welcome, welcome.
Oh my living God.
That's a lot of people.
We love you! Woo!
So I think everyone was as surprised as I was this morning when they showed us Last of Us 2. So I think the first thing we should do is we should watch the trailer again and Let's do it? All right, let's see it.
This place is packed. It's crazy.
I think they've got it here somewhere.
Thank you.
So do I, right?
So,
watching
how are
ourselves
you
again?
guys?
I mean, we can pantomime it, but I don't know if it'll be as good.
Let's just act it out, Troy.
Let's do it. What are we doing? Oh. Are we talking about how we were backstage?
I'm sorry?
Were we talking about how we were backstage?
Yeah, I mean, I believe we were talking about this.
Two words. First word sounds like...
Yeah, exactly. I want to hold my
Wait,
phone
did you
on
ask
my
a
head.
question, or are we going to watch the...
I thought we were going to watch the trailer.
Okay, okay,
Are we
got
gonna
it.
watch the trailer?
Do, but
This is going
this
great.
is going to be firing over. So
Here we go.
I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I fear no evil because I'm blind to it all. In my mind, my gun, they comfort me, because I know I'll kill my enemies when they come. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell on this earth forevermore. Said I walk beside the still waters and they restore my soul, but I can't walk on the path of the right because I'm wrong. No, I can't walk on the path of the right 'cause I'm wrong.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
Holy God.
So I know I can't be the only one in the crowd that I had shivers watching that the first time. It really was quite powerful. But that is quite the statement there in the end, that I'm going to find them and kill them, all of them. Could you tell us who are we going to find? What are we doing here?
We're going to start there. Let's see how I do this dance. Yeah, if the first game was really like the core of it, the theme was about the love between these two characters and how we build that through story, music, interaction, gameplay, mechanics. This story is the counter of that. The story is about hate and how we use all those same things to make the player feel that. Through Ellie this time. First game is like you play as Joel. This game you're playing as Ellie. And that is all I'm going to say about that.
I kind of figured, but I knew I needed to ask. You know, for you two, I mean, I know from playing the first game, it was a powerful experience, and the characters are just, I mean, they're in a good way taxing to play. You know, the world is always heavy on you. How does it feel to be back as I mean, Joel and Ellie are two amazing characters. What's it like to bring them back to life?
It's so good. It's just, I think when we were shooting the trailer, it's amazing how fast you can, we jump back into it. And I knew I missed playing her, but I didn't realize how much. And I think we've also been waiting for this day since the day we wrapped the first game. And I'm so glad it's here. Sorry.
Oh, Ellie.
I'm so glad it's here.
It was, today's been incredibly emotional for all of us, and I know that this is a day of celebration for everybody at Naughty Dog, because this has been just tireless work for everybody, and all of us have been trying to keep it under wraps, but it's exactly what Ashley said. You know, we kept asking, when are we going to do this? When are we going to come back? What's the story? And I remember the first time that Neil actually sat down and kind of said, okay, here's what I'm thinking. And we were at the BAFTAs. We were standing outside of a bar in London, and I was just, it was so weird to hear about this thing actually maybe being real. And that's one level of it. And then you, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to shoot the trailer, and that's another level of it. And the first time that we walked back on stage, and it wasn't Ashley there anymore, and it wasn't Troy, but it was Joel walking down that hall and finding Ellie. It was overwhelming. And I'm not using a platitude. It literally was overwhelming to be in those shoes again. And I don't think that I'm Joel, or that Joel is me, Ellie isn't Ashley, Ashley isn't Ellie. These are two real people to us. These are flesh and blood characters that every once in a while they're kind enough to just let us see the world through their eyes. And to be able to see the world again, and specifically that world again through Joel's eyes, was, my heart could barely hold it. And today, sitting in the crowd with you guys and experiencing it for the first time here, we were in tears, and there's nothing that made it feel more worth it. All the lies that we've had to tell over the last 2.5 years.
Oh man, I lied so much.
Lied so much. But when we heard your applause, when you saw that Firefly logo, and when you saw Ellie, and you heard her voice, and you heard Joel's voice, we can't thank you guys enough, because that made every second that we've had to wait worth it. So thank you.
So I think there's an interesting choice in name here, Part 2. So we've got The Last of Us, Part 2. What does it mean, Part 2? Where are we? Where are we in the story of Ellie and Joel?
We're a few years after the events of the first game. Ellie is now 19. So much thought went into this, and I know there's a lot of people that feel this trepidation about coming back to these characters and revisiting what that ending means, and worrying whether that's going to spoil the first game. And you have to understand, we feel all those things as well. Like, no one loves these characters more than we do, and we would not do this if we didn't feel like we had the right idea. And the Part 2 is really kind of doubling down on that, to say we believe in this so much. We're not trying to avoid it, and we like, I've played with so many of the ideas that had different characters, and it never felt right. The Last of Us is about these two characters specifically. So yeah, the Part 2 is it's saying this is going to be a larger story. This is a complementary story to the first game, but the two together are going to tell this much larger tale. And all I ask is the fans of the first ones, put some faith in us, trust us, we're going to do right by you. So.
Damn straight.
You know, I feel that Naughty Dog is always pushed the envelope on how characters and narrative are developed and a part of game and just so integral to the experience and define everything you do in the games. I mean, you three, I mean, it's funny, you're like old friends when you get together. And so it's like, can you tell us all about like working together to create and bring these characters to life when you're on the soundstage, when you're bringing it out? I mean, do you ever just look at Neil and go, okay, I would never say this. Never in a million years would Ellie do this. I mean, like, what is that experience like?
I mean, this was, I think, one of the reasons why this project is so near and dear to me, and I know both of us, is it felt collaborative, and I think a lot of the time, like when we would come to shoot the scenes, we would have a day of rehearsal where we would talk about the scenes and comb through them, and Neil would say, you know, how do you feel about this line, or do you feel like this is something that she would say, and just sort of going through it and seeing what feels honest and real for the character. And I mean, it's an experience that I don't know if I've ever really had. And you know, the subject matter and the stuff that we're going through in the scenes that we're doing, you know, as an actor, your job is to go there and to put your emotions on the floor and bleed on the floor. And when you do that and you go there emotionally with someone, you can't help but have a connection with the people that you're working with. So I've had some of the most powerful experiences just working on this game, and that's why it's so close to me. And that's why oh man, I'm so excited.
I think all of us, oh please.
Well, what's cool is, for me, is like when these guys come by Naughty Dog, because it's not just us, it's like the entire team. We work on this game for years at a time, and you're putting so much of yourself and you're sacrificing so much to make this statement of sorts. And these guys come by to like every get-together there is at Naughty Dog. They really feel like part of the Naughty Dog family, and I feel like that's rare, and that was one of the main reasons of wanting to come back, is to work with these guys again.
That's awesome.
I've said that a lot of people ask a lot of times, what's your favorite character? Is Joel your favorite character? And it's impossible to choose a favorite, but what I can say is that he's the one that I miss the most. He's the guy that I find myself thinking about and wondering, what is he up to? What is he doing? And it's absolutely right. We're a family, and we're all in this together, but I think all of us up here, as well as everybody else back at Naughty Dog and everybody who was allowed to be a part of this, would probably agree with this. This game fundamentally changed our lives in the best way, and in the most real way. Yeah, absolutely. But not only as an actor, like I know I can demark the moments when we were shooting that I felt myself growing as an actor and as a person. The people that it's brought into our lives, the relationships that we've built because of this game. And what's funny is I almost did an audition for this because I was so mad because I felt like I wasn't right for Joel. I felt like I was too young. I felt like I walked into the audition room and there's 20 dudes that look just like Joel. And I'll never forget, I literally almost walked out the door, and I was heading to the door, the casting director called my name. And I came this close to not being able to experiencing any of this, to not only be not sitting here in this chair, but not knowing Ashley, not knowing Neil, not being able to be a part of this incredible story and this incredible journey, and it was all out of fear. So I think one of the things that I've learned most that this has taught me is don't let fear be the reason why you don't do something. So yeah, and I say that knowing that all of us there's a level of fear to what we're doing with this, because it's scary to come back and revisit a story, especially when it's been so incredibly successful, so incredibly well received by millions upon millions of people. It's one of the most discussed games that I've ever seen. And it's scary to kind of go back into that because we're walking around with our hearts open and being completely vulnerable. And like Neil said, I would just say, trust us. Just trust everybody at Naughty Dog that we know what we're doing, that we care about this story more than anybody. Love you, random person in the audience.
So when you watch the trailer, I mean, I think there's a lot of iconic moments as you go through the Firefly logo on the stop sign. When you walk down the hall and you see the bodies throughout the house. But the one that struck me the most is the shaking hand, right? Ellie's shaking hand, and that's also
knuckles.
for anyone who's not to be too spoiler, but this is also you'll notice the tattoo on her arm as well. So there's plenty of things there. What can you say about why is she shaking? I know there's an amazing performance that follows, obviously, but why does her hand shake?
See, this is the part that sucks. It's like, we're like, yay, there's The Last of Us 2, but we can't talk about anything. There are reasons.
You could.
Which is the
gone through
lamest
some
answer
shit.
of all time. She's gone through some shit. What a shocker. I feel like you need to answer this question.
I need to answer?
I feel like I'll get into trouble.
Well, I'll save you from having to
All right,
answer that one. How about that? So, and then you go on to the performance, and that is you actually sing through the valley there in that. It's
Yeah.
amazing, by the way. Fantastic.
Great job.
Thanks.
I know there has to be more than just, hey, so I wrote this song I want you to do. I've got this in here. Tell me about what that happens when you kind of find out you need to sing.
I remember we were talking.
I sent you that scene, I think, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, he sent me this scene a couple years ago, and then he sent me that song, which is by, what is his name?
Sean James. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I want you to sing it. And I was like, I'm so sorry, what did you just say? And, but, you know, I think there's a lot of history with Joel and Ellie and sort of, you know, music and I'm trying to think of
You're treading so carefully right now.
I know.
It's amazing.
I was definitely very scared to do it. I'll say that. But I think I wanted to make sure that it made sense for Ellie, and I think it did, and I think it's a cool little moment, and we'll see.
Yeah, so this scene we started working on about 2 years ago. So I asked Ashley, I'm like, okay, here's a song I want to do. I think it'll be cool. Can you send me a scratch track? We just want to cut something together just to see if it works. So she sends me this simple recording she just threw together, and it's so like beautiful. In fact, when we listened to it, we're like, it's actually a little too good. And we got a voice coach, this really great singer, Melissa Reese, who came and worked with Ashley to make her sing worse, so she would sound more like Ellie. So what you're hearing there is like a much worse version of how Ashley can really sing.
He's too good.
I think there's definitely it was a different kind of acting than I've ever done, because you sort of try to find a way that a character talks, but we don't really get the opportunity to figure out like how a character would sing. And Melissa was so great with that, sort of figuring out sort of the roughness and the edges of some of the notes, and yeah, it was definitely. I was so nervous because I had to go in for some of the rehearsals for it, and then everybody's just like sitting there watching me, and they're like, "Okay, go sing," and I was like, "Okay." I walk through, and then I'm like playing with my clothes. And I was like, "This is so embarrassing," but. We found it. We figured it out and sort of found the way that Ellie sings, and yeah.
That's great. Well, I got a little insider info that this is a new set of performance capture that you guys are using for this game. I mean, that you've taken it kind of to the next step. We even have a little bit of a video to show how this performance has gone forward.
I guess, yeah, I'll set this up. So a lot of games, and we do this sometimes, we do digital doubles, where you cast an actor and you're trying to make it look as close to the actor as you can. Ashley doesn't look like Ellie, Troy doesn't look like Joel, so we had to come up with this different process. So what we did is actually we created digital doubles of them, while our artists create a whole new kind of sculpt, a next-gen sculpt of Joel and Ellie. And what you're going to see in this video is like a digital double of Ashley with Ellie's texture, so she's going to be very freckled. And then you're going to see it kind of transform and morph into Ellie. So what we're trying to do is take the performance from the digital double and transpose it onto Ellie. So we could play that.
So pretty.
Well, I mean, I think the detail is striking as far as the engine as well. You guys have updated that for Last of Us Part 2
Yeah,
as
so this
well.
is by far, like, within Sony's group, this is the most advanced character model we've ever created. And just the way the flesh can move over the bone and the kind of subtlety we can get at the eyes. Like, we can never cut to a close-up of eyes before because we couldn't get the fidelity. Now we can.
So I think what's interesting, too, is that you can take these performances and bring them back to the workshop and meld them to create like the kind of the perfect scene, the direct a scene unlike you could ever do even in film.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's in film, like when you want to go between different takes, you have to have a cut in the middle. Here we could actually blend between different takes so we could create a performance. Of course, there's a collaboration with the animators and the artists at Naughty Dog. They're definitely a part of putting all this together.
It's so crazy because this was a full day of just doing
Nothing but
facial
this.
movements like this.
And it's weird because they ask you to do things like, I don't know if my face has ever done that before. It's like, can you make this sound? I'm like, I have no idea. We're going to find out. But it's
Yeah.
crazy because we spent hours on like just lip purses and stuff like that, or blinks or swallowing, and they would shoot it in like something like 150 or 200 frames a second just to get what your face looks like when you swallow, which is crazy to think that that video exists out in the world right now.
Oh, man.
And the memes begin.
We've got these characters up here. How does that feel when you're out there performing? I mean, like, so a year and a half ago you shot. I mean, that's the amazing thing, by the way, is that this didn't just happen like last week. You guys shot this a year and a half ago and have been sitting around waiting to show this to us. So I'm sure there's been a lot done on the game since then.
We made a little game called Uncharted 4 in the middle there.
a little game. You were also, I think, you guys opened the show this year for PSX, and you also
Right.
closed the show. And that's the power of Naughty Dog, huh? Right, everybody?
But just real quick, I'll say there was a big discussion within Naughty Dog and Sony about where should we show this Last of Us 2 trailer. Some people were saying we should wait until E3. E3's bigger. But we're such fans of PSX and being here with the fans and sharing it with you guys that this was the venue for it. There was no other option.
So in the last game, we obviously played both characters. Can you give us any kind of hints as far as the gameplay, as far as like where will we is Ellie our star in this one, where Joel was our star in the first, or?
Joel was a star in the first. Ellie's a star in this one. Ellie plays different from Joel. I'm getting into risky territory here. Some things are evolutions, some things are reinventions, but there'll be a gameplay reveal down the road. So
Yeah, I'm certain. So as far as playing these characters again, when you find out the story, when you sit down, I assume you guys go out to dinner, sit down, and you hear the story. What is it like to find? Because I mean, you're probably sitting around going, I don't know where these characters are going until you kind of hear the story. What is that like?
It's heavy. It's heavy. I think, I know we're saying it over and over again, but there is such an attachment to these characters in this story and everybody at Naughty Dog, and there was, you know, it was like a cocktail of emotions of just being excited to get back into it. I cried just because I'm just emotional all the time. But just like I
actually remember this. Like, we went to a restaurant, and I was like, okay, so we're going to do this DLC called Left Behind. Let me kind of tell you what we're thinking, and that's where we discussed a lot about Ellie and her sexual orientation and who she is. And so we kind of walked through the whole story of Left Behind, and Ashley's crying at the end. People are looking at us kind of weird, like, that's fucked up. This guy brought her here to break up with her or something. And then I'm like, well, I have one more story I want to pitch you. It's still early, we're working on it. And I walked her through the story of part 2. And she's like bawling by the end of it.
like, it's too much. Don't tell me this now. But it's just so great. It's just so great to be back. I mean, I can't say that enough.
I think for me, and again, this is not just like one sit down and let's run over the story with you. This has been a conversation that's been ongoing. And typically in our conversations, it starts off with Neil saying, let me ask you a question. What if, and there's this amazing thing. And so to me, I don't remember just hearing the pitch. It's more about the fact that these guys have allowed Ashley and I to be a part of this conversation, and we've seen the evolution. We saw the evolution of the first game and where it originally was supposed to end and then where it ended up being, which to me is the most honest, most perfect ending to a video game I've ever seen, ever. And which has lent itself so well to what does Ellie know that Joel lied to her, and what does the okay mean? What happened immediately after? And when we did the One Night Live thing, it was great because we kind of got to dip our toe in that water and see what that felt like a little bit in the scene that it's not in canon, and Neil said that specifically. It's not something that, this is something completely separate. Huh?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You said this, like, this isn't canon, this is just something here for tonight. Let me lose my train of thought. But again, it's great to be a part of the conversation, to see how far it's come. And again, the trust that we have, there's so much trust between what Naughty Dog trusts with their actors and how much the actors entrust to Naughty Dog and everybody else who's going to do this. They have hired us and they trust us to give them the performances that give you guys and give us as gamers the kind of experience that they want to tell. And then we trust them to take what we do and execute that. And so it's just this great symbiotic relationship. But for them to bring us in so early on, and for them to bring us into the conversation and allow us to see not only how it'll end up, but where it started from, I think is one of the reasons why we feel so attached to this, because we have grown with these characters and we have grown with this story too.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely memorable.
Yeah.
So at Naughty Dog, I mean, I know you guys are always trying to see how do we do, one up our previous game, and how do we do that? And I think the original Last of Us has scenes like the giraffe. I think that sticks with people. You go like, okay, we're gonna make part 2. Oh my God, we've got to update. We've got to one up that. I mean, how do you approach looking for those moments that define a game like that? I mean, is it as simple as like these are going to be defining moments, or do they find you?
It's different for a sequel than the original, because the original you don't have a lot to draw from. It's all kind of fresh ideas. And with the sequel, you could easily fall into the trap of like, okay, the first one was great, and you start operating out of fear of like, okay, we need the giraffe moment, we need the winter sequence, we need the guy that's going to be like David. And I've definitely felt that, like, I don't know if these scenes are going to be as good as that, but you kind of have to ignore all that and say, okay, what is this story? What are the moments for this story? Where are the characters now? They're very different than the characters they were in the first game, and just honor that. Like, there might not be a giraffe sequence, there might not be a character like David, but there will be different moments, and hopefully they resonate as much as the ones in the first game.
Yeah, and I know we all want. Can we play it tomorrow, please? Can we just hurry up?
And it's available now.
I know there's an important thing here that you guys are showing this and sharing this very early. I know you have a lot of work. You did just finish Uncharted. Do we have any idea when we would maybe see Last of Us Part 2 in our PlayStations?
We have an idea, but we've learned now several times not to say that publicly until we're confident with that idea. So we're going to hold off on saying when it comes out for a while.
The future. It's in the future.
So I learned something interesting from you the other day, which was that you had the ends set for both Left Behind and the original Last of Us, and as you got towards the end of production and you found yourself kind of getting to the end, that you wanted to find more, that you wanted to get more out of that. So I mean, you guys don't just sit down and make one scene a weekend, do the whole game, see ya, we'll come back. So how is it when you come back together, when you're trying to fill in the gaps, when you're trying to find each scene in each area? How do you define that, and how do you like revisit and bring that energy back to that scene when you're like, we're going back and doing it again?
I think it's important, not just working with actors, but the entire team, that everyone has a full understanding of what is the experience we're after. And in very simple terms, what is each beat about? Like when Joel and Ellie are in Pittsburgh in the first game, it's really about the first time Joel is trusting Ellie as an equal. So we're like, okay, what are the kind of set pieces that could get us that? What are the moments that will get us that? What are the mechanics that will get us that? What are the scenes that will kind of get that? So when we capture scenes, and we will do like these mini arcs, like we'll capture all of Pittsburgh at the same time, so that we can kind of wrap our head around it, and it's almost like a mini story. And then we'll take a break and implement stuff. Other levels will come online when we feel like we're ready for another sequence, like the winter sequence. We captured all that in one go. It was like, and I think we did it chronologically.
Pretty much.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But that's what helps us kind of just like compartmentalize each one of these aspects, and then they slot in. As long as your plan is good and you've thought things through, then they can slot in pretty easily with minor adjustments as you're trying to fit it all together.
So, when you have to get direction from Neil, is he a tyrant on the set?
No.
No. It's,
Best.
there's this great shot. My wife came to set one day, and she's a fantastic photographer. And there's a shot that she got of Neil and I, and it's from behind, and it's Neil talking to me, and I'm gesticulating just like this. And it was, I think it was when we were reshooting something, but it wasn't the Sarah scene, but it was something else. But Neil's never been afraid to have a conversation with you and ask you genuinely, what are you thinking? How do you feel about this? Or we need to find a way to get there together. And again, even like we talked about bringing in the conversation, that continues when we're on set together. There's absolutely nothing about a tyrant. He's open to anything. There have been so many bad ideas that I felt really passionate about, and he's been kind enough to let me try them out. He's like, cool, okay, you got that out of your system. Do you want to go back to the way we were doing it? But no, you're the greatest director I've ever worked with, man.
Aww.
True.
Anybody who's an actor would be privileged to work with you.
Yeah.
I didn't actually think you were a tyrant.
I think the more you do this, the more you get confident in knowing that you don't know what you're doing. So it really is about play. Like we come in to shoot these scenes with an idea. It's like, okay, we think this is how it's going to work. But as you get it up on its feet, you find and discover different things, and you want to remain open to them. So when we sit down, like we'll do a scene, and then we'll talk about, okay, this part, what if we played it this way? And let's just see what happens. And a lot of times that's like, we'll talk about it and then just say, let's just see what happens. Let's just see. And hopefully we find these little kind of magical moments that then help make it for a richer story.
Yeah. He's hands down one of my favorite directors I've ever worked with. I think because it's just an open. It's so fun. It's so fun working with you. And so I think it's why I've missed it so much, because I think we've built so much trust between all of us to try something that might turn out to be stupid, but he still gives us the freedom to do it. And most of the time he knows. Like he'll come over and be like, I know exactly what this is missing. He won't say it, but he'll be like, try this. And then you're like, oh my God, yes.
You think I know. I know it too.
You know.
I think about like the ranch house scene. I love talking about that one where Joel finds Ellie up in the room reading the diary. He's like, is this what little girls, is this what their problems were? And we worked on that scene for hours. Like on a TV or film set, you've got a day to make, you've got to go, you have to shoot fast, and you don't really have a lot of time to spend time workshopping, and you need to come prepared, be camera ready, and shoot that scene. But the fact that there was such a freedom to be able to explore and discuss and have contention there, and all of us were feeling like it's good, but it's not perfect, it's not right. And I'll never forget, I asked Neil, I was like, can I just take 5 minutes? He goes, take 10. And I went up to the back of the soundstage and just kind of sat down, and Ashley and I were not frustrated with each other. We were frustrated about the scene because we felt like we weren't really connecting on it, that we were executing the lines and we were doing the scene justice, but it wasn't perfect. And we came back and something happened, and it's when Ashley stood up, and I wasn't looking at her. I was looking away, and she said, everybody that I've cared about has left me, everybody. And she saw that I wasn't looking at her, and she just shoved me, everyone fucking except for you. And the scene took off. And it's stuff like that. It's having a director, it's having an entire creative team that's open to, like you said, finding those little bits of magic, as opposed to, I have a day to make, and I really have to shoot these pages. It's good enough, let's just move on to the next. But going, if we leave here today and we don't have this scene in the can, that's fine, we'll come back, but we're not going to put this thing away until it's perfect, until it's right.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
So as you said at the beginning, it's a story about the performances, the game, the gameplay, and also the music. Can you tell us anything about the music? Do we have Gustavo returning? What's going on with that?
So first game was composed by Gustavo Santaolalla. Second game is composed by Gustavo Santaolalla. He's really amazing. He's like a good friend of mine at this point. Again, we've been talking now for like a couple of years about this project. He's never done a sequel for anything he's done, and he's so prolific and so good. And he has these passion projects, and he just picks and chooses, doesn't care about money. So he started writing some new themes for us. And for this trailer, you heard like some new theme in the beginning, and then a new rendition of the original theme at the end. But I think we have a short clip that we cut of a new theme for the game that we're going to play for you. And through some concept art in there that nothing is too spoilery, so you get to see some new stuff.
We have it?
Whenever.
I think it's one of the things that I've had the luck of. I mean, I met Naughty Dog a long time ago, and one of the things that they've had from the very beginning. What we're 25 years. You're now 12 years with Naughty Dog. They've had amazing people working there and done a lot of amazing things. But the thing that I hear Neil say, and I'm going to repeat here a little bit, is the passion that runs from every single person at Naughty Dog about their games, about what they're making. And as you can see here from the performers, that same vein runs through those, and I think it shows in the game. And I think that's why everyone loved the original game. And I think that you can already see that passion flowing into this year-and-a-half-old sneak peek into what we have to come for Last of Us 2. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk about the game today. I would have loved to have gotten more about the gameplay from you. I know that's the secret, but I mean,
you want the Game Informer cover? That's
exactly. But I think my last question for you would be like, thus far in the journey, when you go here and you revisit and you talk about this again, I mean, do you think The Last of Us can exist without Joel and Ellie? I mean, are they The Last of Us? I mean, what is your interpretation of what we've seen and understood so far about the game and the series?
Don't look at me.
It's so much. They're the heart of it. I don't see it without them. That's all I can really say. It's like they're right. Obviously, we have the infected, and there's the world, and there's all these different factions and how they're trying to eco-survival in this world. But at its core, it's about human relationships, and this being the most important one in the story. So it is what it is.
Thank you very much. I mean, we're a little early finishing up, but I think we've definitely explored The Last of Us Part 2. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Our pleasure, man. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
PlayStation They are nested with sin. Free them, that they may know my... Yara! Where is the other apostate? Clip her wings.
Yara. Demons are coming. Cut her down. She's one of them. Lev. Watch your backs.
PlayStation
It's been almost a year since we announced Last of Us Part 2. It's been hard being quiet for so long, but you know, in the meantime, we've put out a little game called Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. And with that finally out there and people playing it and enjoying it, the entire studio is now on The Last of Us Part 2. We're in full production. Every game leverages all of what we learned and all the technology we've built on the previous titles. So this is definitely using all the tech, all the engine improvements we made of Uncharted 4, and now we've had several years to build whole new tech to increase the fidelity even further of our game. So this is the next evolution of our Naughty Dog engine as far as lighting, as far as our character pipeline, how we do muscle deformation, rain effects, even like our facial performance is this whole new rig and whole new pipeline so we can get an even truer performance to what we're capturing on stage. And now we want to give the fans a little something more, lifting the curtain a little bit on the story for The Last of Us Part 2.
Yara. Where is the other apostate? Clip her wings.
The Last of Us, at its heart, is about Joel and Ellie and their journey, but it's also an ensemble piece with all these other characters fitting into that theme, and this time we wanted to focus on some of the other really important characters. You know, last year at the PlayStation Experience, we talked about the theme of hate and how much of this story revolves around that. This, you could see in a lot of ways, speaks to that. So instead of giving you an adjacent puzzle piece about Ellie and Joel's journey, we want to go somewhere else and give you something else and see how people make the connections. But as far as who these characters are, what their conflict is, where this takes place, when this takes place, we're going to leave it up to the fans for now.
PlayStation.
I'm just a poor, wayfaring stranger traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness, no toil, no danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, but beauteous fields lie just before me, where God's redeemed their vigils keep. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there, no more to roam. So I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home.
I'll soon be free from earthly trials. This body rests in the old churchyard. I'll drop this cross of self-denial and go singing home to God. I'm going there to see my Savior. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I'm just a going.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hannah Hart.
So that's enough. That's enough of that. We are here to get questions answered, to get things known out there into the universe. First and foremost, who am I? This person right here. My name is Hannah Hart. Some of you may be familiar with some of my work on the internet, on YouTube. Yes, I am that drunk girl from 2011, a brighter time for YouTube, I think, personally. But what some of you may not know is that I am actually a huge, phenomenally huge fan of this game, The Last of Us, and soon to be its sequel, The Last of Us 2. So part 2. So yeah, I guess I'm just really excited, but I know you guys are too, and you've already had a long day of listening, so I'm gonna keep this as interesting and entertaining as possible, beginning by bringing out some of our fantastic guests here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, we have Neil Druckmann, Hallie Gross, Ashley Johnson, and Troy Baker! He's so good. That was great. Really good. Nice. Yeah. Guys, how good were they? Was that good? Did you enjoy that? Oh my God. Woo, what a time. Did everybody get those lyrics down? Did somebody already write them down, posting them? Are the theories starting already? I hope so. When I get home, I want something interesting to read. So I'm actually going to open it up by talking with you, Neil. You're the writer and director of The Last of Us.
Co-writer with Hallie.
Co-writer. Yeah, I got to give Hallie her credit, too. So I have just some casual, light questions right off the bat. One, will Ellie meet her mother?
That would be tricky. Oh. Yeah, the thing with songs is you could take them literally or they're a metaphor for something else. And just like everything else we're putting out there, we're not going to say a whole lot about that song.
Okay, but is it literal or a metaphor?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, cool. Just two real quick questions. Is Joel dead? And when is the game coming out? So.
What was the first question?
Joel, alive or dead?
It depends at which point. Everybody dies at some point.
Wow. Hey, guys. quick reminder of mortality, just in case you hadn't thought
say a
about
little
the
bit
void.
about the thing with like, it's so interesting. Like we always want to go into our games and people know that there's stakes. There's real stakes, and with The Last of Us, no one is safe. And we wanted people to go into The Last of Us Part 2, especially with this theme, and what we're trying to say with this game is knowing that no one is safe, not even these two. And it's funny, like working on Uncharted 4, we really wanted to raise the stakes as well, but that game is much more lighthearted. So
Wait, what?
We had to call it A Thief's End and do all these crazy trails to get people to think, like, is it possible for Nathan Drake to die in this game? And with this, we released one trailer. Joel walks through a door and it's like, oh my God, is Joel a ghost? Is he dead?
Well, that's enough out of Neil. Let's turn to you two.
Hi.
Thank you, Neil. That was great. Ashley and Troy, first of all, I am a huge fan, and I know I kept it really cool in the green room.
You
but
did?
Yeah, I know, right? Haha, it's all a lie. Yeah, wow, you guys, welcome back. That was awesome. I didn't know that. Have you both? Do you sing?
He's put out albums. He's incredible. If you guys haven't heard his stuff, you need to get it immediately.
That's cool.
I was gonna say download it, but you should go buy it.
I'm looking for the Joel character album. I'm looking for like a lot of like.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are too. I think they would prefer that album. No, this was, again, you're going to get this a lot through this panel. She and I are just going to constantly throw this back to Neil. This was an idea that he
Neil,
had.
can you sing?
What was the question?
As far as like, where did this idea come from to be able to sing? I mean, yeah, she has an incredible voice. Yeah, absolutely. She just doesn't let anybody hear it because she just keeps it secret. I'm out there just constantly trying to make sure people do. So that's the dichotomy between us. But no, this was Neil's idea to do this, and we've been anxiously awaiting this day. Both of us were talking about it. Like, there's this moment that we didn't know was going to happen. We walked out there, and it hit me.
Yeah, that's real. Well, going back to the game, I just want to know, I know you guys can't tell us much, but in terms of emotional spectrum, like what was your reaction to walking through the story of the second game with Neil and everybody? How long did it take to do it? Like a month?
It's a 2.5-hour presentation. Yeah, so we were here last year. We were talking about how they both heard kind of a short pitch, and since then, our legion of concept artists back at Naughty Dog, we had a presentation that was like over 200 images, and we walked the team, including Troy and Ashley, through the entire story, beginning to end. I was pretty nervous pitching it to them.
How'd you feel returning to your characters?
So excited. I mean, for anybody who knows me, this is this game. Oh, I love you.
He doesn't just know you. He loves you.
This game means so much to me, and just the experience that I've had on it, and the friends and family that I've made through this game, even outside of the game, it's changed my life. So returning to this is just the best thing ever. Like, I just, when we finished the first game, I was bugging Neil all the time, like, oh, is there gonna be a second one? When are we gonna do it? What's it gonna be about? So finally, when he, sort of gave me the pitch for it the first time, and then again, Hallie and Neil gave me the pitch, and I was just sobbing, and not just because I'm just tears of joy, and just so excited to be back in it, and I'm so excited about this one.
Do you feel like playing Ellie has helped? Do you feel like it's had an effect on your personality, your perception of self? Like, are there aspects of her character that you wish you emulated, or aspects of her that emulate you?
That's a good question. Well, I actually feel like Ellie is the closest character to me as a person than anything I've played. I don't know if maybe that's why I feel such an attachment to it. But also because when you work on a video game, you're working on it for years, and it's the first time that I've had that experience before. But I don't know. I feel like through that time, it's impossible to not sort of weave into each other and become one.
Wow.
But it's a special and cool thing to work on something for that long.
So can you shoot a bow and arrow super good?
Well, I can, but I've actually learned after the game, because some good friends of ours, Patrick and Jenny. Maybe they're watching somewhere, maybe not. Maybe they'll see it later. Maybe they won't. Doesn't matter. But they're awesome. Hey, thanks. They're actually amazing. So we've been, they've completely taught me how to shoot, and turns out it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I love it. So I have my own bow now, and I love it, but that's just been, I think maybe I'm slowly melding into Ellie, which is a little scary. Probably not going to kill anybody, but who knows?
Yeah, let's
still
just
time.
try and get through the rest of this panel, keeping that true. So then Neil's God, if you're slowly becoming Ellie. Oh my goodness.
No.
But I know we've been talking here, and poor little Hallie's been in the corner. So for those of you who don't know, Hallie Gross is now a co-writer, part of The Last of Us 2. Yay! But she comes from a background doing television. Some of the programs you may have heard of. Anybody here heard of like Westworld? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, how's that been transitioning from television, video games?
It's awesome. It's really been exciting. It's a whirlwind change. Ultimately, narrative is narrative, and that's really exciting, and dynamic characters are dynamic characters, but it's been really wonderful to get to work in an environment where you're not just building a story with other writers, but with designers and artists and editors, and working collaboratively to try and make the best game ever. Pretty exciting.
And it is, in my opinion. Had you played the game before?
I had, yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I took the job. I got this email from my agents being like, yo, Neil Druckmann wants to talk to you about a super top secret job. How do you feel about writing for games? And I was like, in all caps, just absolutely, period. And now I'm sitting here.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
I guess, what's that experience like, though? Because to be simultaneously a fan of something and then a part of engineering it, like, into reality, do you feel like, is it just as exciting as an experience still?
It's a daunting experience, you know? You have this this amazing thing, and you're like, I really hope I'm not I don't mess it up.
Well, you will be the scapegoat. I promise
Yes.
you. If the game sucks, everyone will blame only you.
I mean, but that's
gonna happen on Reddit, yeah.
potentially fair. I mean,
Neil, do you think that she's ruined the game?
but I don't write anything because I'm just a token woman, so it's fine.
You don't let her near a computer, dude.
What was awesome with Hallie is, like, I remember the first day we're going over the story, and like I'm like, okay, I'm pretty confident about the opening, pretty confident about the ending. This big giant middle part, not so sure. And already the first day we started wrestling with these ideas, and she already had like awesome ideas. I want to say one of them, but I'm not.
I know
going
you can't.
to.
I know exactly. Yeah, you can't.
Get used to it.
We got 38 minutes to try and hope somebody slips up, guys.
Whatever. I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it. I'm doing
No.
it. I'm doing it.
No.
You're gonna
I'm doing
slip
it.
up?
No.
What are you doing? What's he gonna do?
After the first day, Hallie goes home and talks to her husband, and she's like, I think I got someone pregnant. And you'll see what
That's
that means.
it. That's it. So cool. I specifically recall asking about that. Wow, yeah, that's great. So, other questions. Token woman. Oh, TV versus game. We've covered that, yeah.
We covered that, yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's really exciting. Like, I love TV, and I love the collaborative process of a writer's room, and I never knew you could have that, like, tenfold with people who think not just narratively, but they also think, everybody at Naughty Dog is just the best at what they do, and so they'll come to you with, like, Neil and I will say, okay, here's what the emotional beat is. And then the art department will have its ideas, and the design department will have its ideas, and what we started with becomes this like much, much better, fuller thing, and that's really exciting.
Tell them about fail states.
I learned about fail states. Guys, that's...
What's a fail state?
Okay, so I came into games, I play games, but I didn't really know much about games, and so I've had to learn this whole, like, I know what IGCs are now, fail states. I'm really proud of myself. So fail states are when you're in gameplay, and like I remember I was pitching. I have to be so careful right now.
Pitching something
I
that
was
going to
pitching just like a character having to go from one location to another in a space that the player will never have experienced before. And I'm like, okay, so this character goes there. And Neil goes, well, how do they know where they're going? It's like, well, what's the fail state? And I was like, in TV, we don't have to deal with these things. I don't know. I don't know.
I still barely know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's just like you have to anticipate what happens if they don't accomplish
If the
the
player
goal.
doesn't do what you want,
Yeah.
then that's usually a problem with like when we have a bunch of like great story ideas and you're like, yeah, but what if the player doesn't do that? Then you have to always have ways to deal with that.
Wait, so that way they die. Oh, good to know. It doesn't mess with how you interact with people, you know, making video games and predicting actions. Oh, long silence there, everybody.
Tell them how PUBG has affected your life.
Guys, I have a boyfriend. His name is PUBG.
His name is PUBG. I don't know what PUBG is either. I just like this game.
PUBG. You don't wait.
I'll learn.
It's okay,
I'll
okay,
hear
we'll
all.
get into it another time. You
Yes.
you murder a lot of people, and it's awesome. It's fine.
So,
Great.
comparing from the first game, we're going to talk about the second game. Comparing from the first game to this one, what are the facts that we all know? We know it's been confirmed that Ellie is now 19 in the second game, correct? Correct. And then you also said that, I just feel like I'm personally interviewing this guy. You also said that the first game is about love, and this one is about hate.
Correct.
Cool. You want to like elaborate on that at all?
You want to throw out some more spoilers?
Well, we put out a trailer in Paris Games Week recently.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I assume, has everyone in this room seen that trailer? It is a visceral, violent, continual scene that I actually think we should watch right now. One more time. Let's do it. Yeah. That's my cue.
They are nested with sin. Free them, that they may know my... Yara! Where is the other apostate? Clip her wings.
Demons are coming. Cut her down. She's one of them. Lev. Watch your backs.
Oh, that looks so cool. Cool. Well, it's time for us all to come down a little bit. I'm speaking specifically to myself. And also, will you all join me in welcoming some of the new cast members here today? Please welcome to the stage. We have Ian Alexander as Lev, Victoria Grace as Yara, and Laura Bailey as... You're standing up? You guys. Yay! Welcome.
I'm gonna slide down, slide down.
Hi, please sit wherever you feel most comfortable. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us this week on Vague Discussions. I'm very glad to have you all here. Hi. Hi. Hello. How's it going? Hello. Good, good, good. Hi. Hello. So let's hear a little bit about you guys. So is this your first time working in video games?
It is my first experience. Yeah, I've never done anything like this before. I've only been on one other show.
Wow.
But you have experience?
I did one other video game prior in 2011, and I haven't done motion capture before in a video game. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, dude. So first of all, this is a pretty high bar to set to be thrust into this position. Last of Us Part 2. So great first gig. But then, okay, let's talk a little bit about that. We saw that your characters are super, super physical. Were you heavily involved in the motion capture experience?
So I'm actually not a fit person. Like, I don't work out at all. So that scene where Lev vaults over the wall, they had me like running down and jumping over a wall. And I remember Neil was like, can you do like a 5 foot or how was it, like 3 foot vault? And I was like, I guess.
You know, those are questions Neil asks everyone. When we met, he was like, 5 foot vault?
So by the end of the shoot, my legs were like trembling and I was totally sore the next day. So yeah.
So you enjoyed the experience?
Oh, totally.
100%.
Yeah.
How about you, Victoria?
I love running around and, you know, all that stuff.
For me, it was also my first time doing stunts and anything of the like, and so like being thrown down onto a mat and getting my arm hit with a foam hammer.
That was brutal.
Oh, I know. The first time I saw that, the first time I saw the trailer,
They used the foam
it was
one with you?
like I thought. No, it was awesome. The whole experience was so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, were you two previous fans of the games at all? What was the audition experience like? Did you know, going into it, who you were playing exactly?
Actually, Neil reached out to the director of the show that I was on, the OA, and that's how I got the role. I did a couple of
it's a great show.
Like self-tapes and auditions and stuff, but I pretty much went into it knowing who I was going to play, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I wish I knew who you were going to play. And then how about for you, Victoria?
Actually, my mom was the one who actually found out about this game, and it was a code name at the time, so it wasn't even The Last of Us. And together we went in and told my agent about it because we knew that this character was like something that I felt connected to. Like, I really felt attached to her right as I read her character description. I know that's insane, but yeah, we went in and I did a self-tape, and then maybe 2 weeks later a callback, and that's when I found out that it was Last of Us. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I know you guys were also involved in the design of the characters. I actually think we have an image of the two characters side by side. Is there one that we can? Yes, the power! Wow. Yeah. So you guys look related, maybe?
Siblings.
Siblings, in fact.
Yes.
Is that true, Neil?
That is true, yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing is like Ashley and Troy and Laura play characters that don't look like themselves. This is one of the few times we've done digital doubles, but because we knew these characters are siblings, we actually kind of blended their features together to like really make them feel like they come from the same lineage.
Yeah, I'm checking it out, and I think you guys did a pretty good job. Speaking of Laura, I'm sorry that I haven't... Hi. How's it going over there?
Pretty good,
So you, I'm going to refer to your character. I know we really don't know much about you,
Yeah,
but I do know... Yeah, a lot of people call her Mystery Woman. I have a couple more names, too.
I like it.
If we can get a picture of her. Lady Hammer. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The Gun Show. Yeah, call her that. And Casual Butch.
Oh, no, that's nice. Yeah.
Do you feel
Charming.
Charming, right? Casual.
Butch.
Yeah. Right? Do you feel like since playing Lady Hammer, you have decided to work out more or less?
Oh, I fully started working out. Like the minute so actually, funny story, last year I was doing the Lost Legacy panel and I was asked, are you excited? Did you see anything about The Last of Us? You're excited about The Last of Us Part 2? And I knew at that time that I was cast and I couldn't say anything. It was awful. So I'm on the stage like, yeah, Ashley and Troy are just great. I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. So yeah, I started working out like crazy because of it. And
wow.
I'm not anywhere close to the gun show, but
see, guys, all of these work is.
But I am, trying to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
She's a beast, by the way.
Oh,
she totally has gun shows or gun show.
It's all covered by this
so many
blazer,
gun
but
shows.
it's
She
cut
totally
all
has
underneath
gun
here.
shows.
It's pure muscle.
But you have been involved again, like with Ian and Victoria, in the motion capture experience.
Yeah.
How much of this did you have to perform?
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Couldn't
have
think of a better
I have
segue.
the most amazing stunt double, Jessie Graff, who is phenomenal. And the day that we were shooting, they had like blocked out the entire scene with her. And then Neil came up to me and he was like, "How comfortable do you feel with all of that?" I'm like, "Let me do it, please, let me do it." So they put me in the harness and. They had the noose around my neck. So that whole scene of getting thrown down and then yanked up and everything, we did all of that.
Wow.
And we kept the noose isn't actually choking me, but they kept a good amount of tension so that, while she's being choked, that you would get the neck tension and there would actually be that guttural sort of sound. So.
Oh my good. Do we have any images from any of the motion capture experiences? We do. Hey, Macarena, look at that. Wow.
Look at us.
Look at you guys. You guys are, so do you guys become a trio? Can I ask that?
I don't know. Can you?
I can't ask.
I have special boots. I have special mocap boots, which makes my walk cool.
Oh, wow. That looks so intense. I mean, so clearly your character is 100% a badass, right?
Yeah.
You confirm or deny?
I can say that, right?
Yeah, we can see that. That's incredible. Sorry, this is where myself as a fan, I get so caught up in trying to analyze the details. Look at that. So you've never done any physical work like this before?
No, I have not. It was definitely like a dream come true for me. Yeah, I've always wanted to do something like this.
And Neil, with these characters, can you tell us a little bit about what, I guess, your hope for them, if there is such a word in your world, would be as characters in this game?
There is hope. There are lighthearted moments in The Last of Us, but it's all surrounded with this other thing that we're trying to say. Yeah, even with this trailer, like we've been talking about this theme of hate, and you're seeing these two groups and how they're reacting to one another. And a lot of the story is this kind of about this sense of pursuing justice and the positive and negative and kind of like the really messy gray area that can occupy that. So we're seeing Yara and Lev belonging to this religious group, and they've left for some reason, and this circumstance of the scene has caused them to align themselves with someone that they would normally hate and see as less than human, which is mystery woman gun show, whatever.
Gun show seems to be sticking.
Yeah.
I really thought Lady Hammer would be the winner. Well, it's interesting because here you have the infected, obviously, and you would assume that presented with a common crisis, presented with a common threat, there are kind of two ways that humanity can go. We can either be divided into multiple factions or be united as one, and then hopefully get to like the Star Trek universe, which is all I'm waiting for, really. But it's clear, after watching this, one of the things I was most excited about personally as a fan is that it seems like there's a cult aspect now. There's like a religious following. I don't know where the military's at. What are the infected up to? Still infecting? The Fireflies? What's going on with them? Can any of those things be told to me?
Those are all things that in some way or another are in the story.
Son of a
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all there. Well, I personally am excited because I really do love a cult storyline, and just kind of like, the writing that goes into deciding that these people are good, these people are bad, because no one believes that they are the enemy. They think that they are fighting for what's right. And it seems to me that, maybe it's a story of hate, but maybe it's also a story of perceived righteousness.
Well, so much of The Last of Us is the perspective of the group. Like no one group is bad or one person is bad or good for that matter. Like the ending of The Last of Us, spoiler alert, but there's a lot of people that see Joel as the villain or the hero, depending which side of it you're looking at. And that's kind of what we're trying to hit with this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there.
Needs of the many, needs of the few. Are there ever any recap panels where people get to talk about the decisions that were made? That's what it should be, a recap panel, or just an entirely spoiler-ridden panel. Okay, let's talk about atmosphere. We have seen inside this trailer that it's very dark, it's very gritty. It felt, I don't know, I mean, you say there are moments of lightheartedness in the sequel, but here it seems like we're in a very wet, rainy area. Some might say Seattle. Is that true?
I
They
guess
let
we
me ask
just
whatever I
confirmed
want.
it. Yeah, we could say that. A large part of the game takes place in Seattle, which Reddit detectives have already figured out.
Man, Reddit is so good. Look at this. We made it all the way to the West Coast. Do you guys come down to Cali? Little San Francisco, Los Angeles action? Is that where Joel's album dropped?
I was pretty bummed to find that, like the whiskey was closed.
What?
Really? I thought that joke was going to do better. Not.
We're in Anaheim.
You guys are still just like, Last of Us. Arr. These are the moments of levity he was talking about. Continue.
Amazing. Really good. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel that I very much want the game to come out now because I have been a fan of it for all of, 2 years. So I guess I've waited. I haven't waited as long as everybody else has. But are you guys nervous at all? And maybe I just kind of want to ask each of you individually, when you go into creating the second half of such a large enterprise, are you nervous about the reactions that you're going to receive? Are you excited for that?
Troy?
Yes, sir. There's something that The Last of Us taught me is a story like this requires a higher level of trust and faith more than any other project I've been a part of, and really I think any other game that's come out for sure. And that's all the place that everybody who touched this thing operated in. Is when I found out what the ending was going to be, I knew that people were going to be on one side or the other, and Neil knew that, and he and I discussed this. And it's like people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. But what we don't want is for people to just be like, and ambivalent. And it's the same thing here. If we go into this thing making this something that we hope that people will like, or that people will believe is as good as, or it's better than, or it still feels like, then we're not making the game that we're supposed to be making. And so all of us are just kind of keeping our heads down and trying to tell this story. We've told that story, and now this is where we are. And so it's kind of the same moment of walking out there. It's like, look, we're just going to be out here to speak truth. And it worked out well the last time, and I think it's going to work out well for us this time.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm going to clap for you, Troy. That's beautiful.
Good job. I can say I have never been more nervous about being cast in something than being cast in this. Every day before I go in to start shooting, I want to throw up. Just because, I mean, in a good way. Just because, like, there's so much to live up to. Like, you know, these two are my best friends, and so, you know, when I even went into audition, I was dying on the inside because I wanted it so bad, and then to get cast and to know that then I have to live up to the performances that you gave and the writing that you guys are providing is just so phenomenal, and I just.
Do you feel that way also about Uncharted? I mean, are you just like.
Yeah.
Because you know, they're probably here still.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Uncharted, I love that too. Yeah, I'm just saying this made me really nervous is what I'm saying about this. And these guys, I love them and stuff.
You know, they say it's good to be nervous because it's a sign that you care. It's a sign that you care a lot, and it's a sign that it's a quality product. And in the future, when you go into making a sequel for something that is beloved, you're always going to have the people that just want to repeat the first experience. But that's not growth. That's not change. That's not life.
Yeah, there's definitely a fear there of, because with the first game, it's like people liked it or didn't like it, and you're like, okay, well, we made a certain game to our taste. This is like the vision that we had for it, and you accepted it. With the second game, what's hard for me, and I know other people on the team have this issue, is like we're, again, making something we really believe in. There's a fear, there's a challenge there, like we're trying to do something that's really challenging as far from the kind of, I feel like we're doing something innovative in the way we're telling the story that we won't be able to talk about until the game is out.
Yeah, right?
But you just have to lean into that fear and just say, you know, we're doing something we believe in. And the hard thing that I was getting to is there's going to be fans of the first game that aren't going to like the second game. And that we have to be okay with that. And there's going to be people that just never played the first game are going to love the second game. And all we have to do is all we can do is be true to ourselves and keep making what we believe in.
Right.
That's it.
That's absolutely right.
That has always worked for Naughty Dog, and that will forever be how we make games, and we will forever continue to make single-player, linear, narrative-based games.
Ooh. Oh my God. What about, and
Somebody give that boy a mic to drop.
yeah, give that man a mic to drop. What about part 3? So much of this panel is literally just me asking.
You are asking the hardest
questions. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Sorry, let me talk to you more about your experience as an artist. Hallie, how's your experience as an artist been? No, well, I guess, is there any messaging that you wanted to come in and convey through this form of storytelling? Again, this is the first video game you've worked on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Messaging is really going to come down to the theme that Neil had when I came onto the project. But what I think, and to sort of what he was saying before, like I think the reason that the first game succeeded in large part was because he was drawing incredibly authentic characters, and they weren't tropes or archetypes. They were these very complex people who had done both good and bad things, negotiating a difficult world and negotiating a complicated relationship. And I think while, of course, we want to make people happy, the priority has to be on doing right by Joel and Ellie and all of the characters in the story, and giving them an authentic arc and difficult conflicts to engage with.
Yeah.
And see how they grow and change.
And see how the world has grown and changed, because from the first game to now, the entire planet has continued to be infected, and these factions have developed. And there's really not much more they gave me to work with here in terms of what we can't talk about, which is fine. What do you guys think about your characters? Love them, hate them? No, but truly. So you guys are siblings. You've grown up in this world, I assume. I mean, I think their age is undetermined. Can you tell us how old they're?
Yara is 16 and Lev is 13.
Oh, that's so sweet. Do you guys love being in that cult or whatever? Let's talk about your work as an artist. Do you love cults? Sorry.
Depends which cult.
Depends, right? But truly, though, what do you feel like is something that you have taken away from working with this character? Is there a sense, kind of like we were talking about with Ashley about Ellie, is there a sense of attachment development there? Do you feel close, akin?
Like I said, I felt attached to her from like the very first time I read her character description, and I had no clue what the project was. There are aspects of her personality that I find similar to mine and aspects that I really admire. And yeah,
an extremely high pain tolerance.
This is true.
Yeah.
No, and I was very excited to hear her story, which is absolutely very complex and very
careful.
Very awesome.
mean.
But no, I was very excited to also have a little brother in the game, because in real life I have 5 older brothers, so this is a nice dream.
Oh, that's great. Did you guys record your scenes together? I mean, aside from the motion capture, but when you were doing all the, I mean, in motion capture, do you record the audio simultaneously?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, I don't make video games.
In motion capture, usually it's just like motion, but in performance capture, it's full capture. So you do the face and the voice and the body all at the same time.
It's like the scene you see her with when she's got the helmet on and a little, there's a camera that's like 6 inches away from our face. It's capturing all of the face. And then that weird suit that we wear is capturing all of the body data. And then they have typically 2 mics, which I think Naughty Dog was one of the first people that I know to do that, because you'll have a lot of dynamic scenes and people start screaming. So they wanted to make sure that we don't have to redo the scene because the audio got blown out. And so it really became a way of, let's get everything together at the same time. And that's how you can get a scene like a one continuous shot of someone being hung.
Yeah.
Hanged? Whatever.
Hanged.
Hanged.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Hanged.
Hanging out.
Hanging out.
Yeah. It can be challenging with the face cam for any time you're like doing something more intimate or like getting close to somebody. Like you're.
Do you get close to somebody?
Like,
Well, just
come on,
like-
let's go. Clean.
Is there closeness in this game?
Nobody is ever close in this game. We're very 10 feet away from each other at all times.
I'm hoping for some
a middle
closeness,
school
if you know what I mean. That's really what I've got my fingers crossed for. Looking at you, Ashley. I mean, Ellie. I know the difference between you and your character.
Sometimes I don't. But
Let's explore that.
okay.
Yeah. I guess that, like, with you guys, your ability to convey the story, because to be honest, The Last of Us was the first video game I ever played. And I just didn't have a console my whole life. And then I got one, and then I played The Last of Us. So I've set my own personal bar for playing games incredibly high. I gotta tell you, it's a tough game to start with, because now when I play other games, I'm like, where's the complex character development? I don't care about these people. Where's the story? Where's the qualms of morality? You know, and if you guys have like a list or something you can give me, that would be great.
I can't find my complex character development.
That's me, yes! That's literally me.
Those are in loot boxes. It's MTXs. You got it.
Oh, the burns.
No?
Oh, the burns.
And there goes Troy's career. Go ahead.
He went there.
Well, Troy, since you haven't gotten a chance to talk much on this panel, I guess I'm curious to hear about how your experience playing Joel has evolved. Can you tell me?
Man, I don't think, I look back at the person that walked in, and actually we were, as a goof, we were looking at pictures. If you like, don't do this, but I Googled myself last night.
Is this as I was sitting next to you?
Yeah, and I did like a little image search, and there's the guy that walked in circa, 2011, I think is when we started this, and or 2010, and wow. And Neil just took my phone and showed Hallie, and he goes, Joel. And it's a picture of me at the Final Fantasy premiere. Don't laugh, dude, that's not cool, man.
Oh, you held that up. up right
You
now.
got it up? Yeah.
Yes.
Just pass that around, and everybody will
There's
get a
so
get a
much
good
hair.
gander.
So it's Troy
there's the
Baker
volume.
2011
It's
and Troy Baker
just-
Final Fantasy.
and
Just all the hair.
Hallie was the one that said that. No, you.
No,
who
yeah,
said,
yeah.
It was, I
You
said
said this.
MySpace hair.
You were like, man, you got some MySpace hair. And I went,
Sick Bernie.
greatest joke that anyone's ever told. So, the guy that walked into that thing, I look back and I go, that was someone who was naive and full of fear and lacked a lot of identity. Let me pull it up.
Are they showing it? Oh, wow.
Are they showing
Can we
it?
do that?
Oh no, is it pulled
Hey,
up?
thanks, camera B. About to have a poignant moment. A guy goes, I got it. But all of us, I mean, when Ashley, the first thing that she said, she was like, this game fundamentally changed our lives. I mean, our dynamic inside, both on and off the stage, has changed. And I'll never forget when she and I first walked into the stage on Culver just to hear the pitch from Neil and Bruce about what this game was going to be about. We had both gotten the gig, and so we felt a little more comfortable, and he walked us through, and I think it was about 45 minutes to an hour to just walk us through, this is going to be The Last of Us. And they said, do you want to take a break? And we're like, sure. And she and I walked outside and just, I think, breathed for the first time in an hour. And I looked at her and I said, do you realize that if this thing sucks, it's because of us? Because it's so good. And man, I think about all the days between that and this, and more than anything, it's for me, it's been, we all want to make a game that we want to play, but there's nothing like going literally the world over and being at a convention or something and having someone stand in front of me or in front of Ashley or in front of Neil and they can't find the words to be able to express what this game has meant to them and for them and the times that it's carried them through. And for me, it's the reason why I play is because if Joel and Ellie can get through that, I can get through Tuesday.
Yeah. Give it up for Tuesday. That's beautiful. And yeah, I think that you guys should give yourself some credit. Clearly, here we are at the PlayStation Experience 2017 at the Last of Us Part 2 panel. So clearly, I think their performances did carry the weight of the story through. So congratulations to you guys for that. So, and just to piggyback off that real quick, Joel, alive or dead?
Right.
Right. God, you'd think, I really thought I gave them like a false sense of security,
We're
played it-
actors. That's what we live in, is a false sense of security.
Yeah, constant sense of
No,
insecurity.
insecurity. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's the other one.
that's the
Got
one.
it.
That's okay, it
I
happens.
meant that right? Did I look okay?
Yeah,
My
you
hair all right?
look great.
You know what's so funny is that I'd never seen you in interviews before, so I really thought you were gonna be like, Joel, be like, hey, I'm Troy. Blah, blah, blah. And then when I first saw him and he was like, stop, I was like, oh, you're fun.
Actually, I think the first time you saw me was when I was standing like this so that the hair chick could spray my hair, which that'll just shatter a bunch of images for people.
Yeah.
No, they just have to look you up on Google, Troy.
There it
Yeah,
is.
there it is. Even more shattered. Are you looking forward to this future for yourselves as characters and as character actors?
Totally.
Okay, great. You're doing great. Yeah, this is a good learning curve experience right here. Neil, how do you feel about these guys and the way they've carried the second part? I mean, what you guys have gotten done so far, which is how much exactly? Just one question.
Yeah, so we finished a lot. Yeah. So we've handed off a bunch of levels. There are a bunch of stuff being worked on. Yeah, we're like 50 to 60%. I don't know how far.
Hey, we can clap for that. You can't say, it's not written in stone. Percentages are vague, made up on the spot. But also, we will remind you of that statement forever on Twitter. But do you feel like, I guess for your vision of how the characters would develop, these guys doing a okay job, or?
Yeah, it's the thing that's cool with everybody that works at Naughty Dog and all the people here on this panel is they're bringing something new to the table. So yeah, we have a script and we have ideas for the story, but they're all making it their own. And right, if it's the background environment artist, it's the editor, it's the acting, it's the Gustavo doing the music. It all comes together to tell this.
Can we clap for the music? I love that music. Gustavo!
And this is actually one of the hardest stages of production, because like we have like this piece over here and then this piece over here, and like, okay, now we have an adjacent piece, so you're starting to see like a flow like come together, but you're still kind of going blind and just like hoping it's all going to coalesce into this amazing experience. And the game is big.
Yeah, it's very.
massive.
You wrote a big game.
It's big.
You wrote a big. Don't.
You wrote a big.
I'm not
We
the
wrote a
Patsy
big
here.
game
I will not be a
together. Both are scapegoats. I will say, and I will tell you guys this. I have had the incredible privilege of seeing some of the game. Yeah, guys. These eyes, them peepers. And it has, I mean, I wish I hadn't signed an NDA. It has blown my mind. It has somehow simultaneously exceeded expectations and then set new ones. And I believe that we know a time and day you guys will be able to see that. Will we?
You always.
It's not that.
They're always trying to, like, it's important to, like, we keep people in suspense about when we're going to show stuff or not show stuff. What you saw, I'm glad that you liked it, but it's still very rough around the corners. We're working hard.
It was awesome. Rough schmuff, guys. It was awesome. Sorry, go on. But when will my friends here be able to do that, too?
E3 2018.
E3 2018! Yay! Oh, you guys, that's it for us. Please give an uproarious applause to everyone that's been here. Everybody, thank you so much. Hallie, Neil, Ian, Victoria, Ashley, Troy, and Laura. We will see you all on the internet. Woo! Yay!
PlayStation.
I hate these things.
Tell me about it.
Your old man really laid into me today.
What happened?
Another big lecture about my patrols. Don't go here, don't go there. It's funny how involved he gets whenever you're scheduled to go out.
Yeah.
She's putting on quite the show.
I give you guys 2 weeks until you're back together.
Not gonna happen. She, say something to you?
Make it 1 week. Ellie! Hey! What took you so long? Well, I'm here, aren't I?
Dina?
Jesse.
Hey, don't forget we leave at first light, so get some rest.
Yes, sir.
You're such a dick.
Come on. Why don't you start with me? Okay, I have a very serious question for you. How bad do I smell?
Like a hot pile of garbage?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
How about that?
Gross.
You love it. Every guy in this room is staring at you right now. Maybe they're staring at you. Or not. Maybe they're jealous of you. I'm just a girl, not a threat. Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
They are nested with sin. What is freedom? Holy shit! No! No!
Jesus.
Spread out.
Watch yourself. Ethan.
What?
Wolf. She came through here. Damn it. Double back.
Go.
I have eyes!
Hey everybody, we're here with a new look at The Last of Us Part 2. We've got Anthony and Kurt from Naughty Dog here. We're going to be running through that new trailer, and we are going to be seeing what we can learn about all the new gameplay and mechanics that are teased that we saw there from a significantly older Ellie. So let's get to that trailer because I want to start digging through it with you guys. But first of all, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
There's been a huge reception for this game here at E3. The gamers have embraced it. It's racked up millions and millions of views on YouTube. So we're going to take a closer look now. But what's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see this trailer now? I mean, you've been working on this game for a long time. It's now out there in the public. and to just see sort of the reception behind it. What does that mean to you?
So the whole team has just been working super hard on the game and on this trailer and demo in particular. And we're just so excited to finally be able to share what we think is super amazing with the rest of the world. And we're really hoping with this trailer that people can kind of get what is happening with Ellie. Like she has the opportunity to be like a normal teenager. We're seeing like kind of this sweet teen romance that she's able to have. And also kind of just get a glimpse, just like a small glimpse of the vast number of new mechanics and new player abilities that we're going to have in The Last of Us Part 2.
I liked the being in the room, the physical church that was built for the press conference. That was really rad to see the press kind of shuffling in and being very confused about what this space was. And then the record scratch and the thing, and then the black lifts, and we see the crowd seeing the room that they're in on the screen. And they're like, whoa, this is this eureka moment of like, oh, yeah, I get it. So it was really awesome. Something that we didn't get to experience when we're looking at this thing a million times. To see it there with 1,000 people in the crowd was pretty rad.
The response in the room was just electric. Like, I was just over the moon with the response in the room. The people were cheering, people were kind of gasping, and, with all the intensity and stuff. So it was really great to be able to be a part of that.
And what was it like to revisit Ellie's character for Last of Us Part 2? Because it's rare we see a character grow, both physically and emotionally across a series. So, how did you approach the design of Ellie differently for Part 2?
So for Part 2, I mean, it's 5 years after the first game, and Ellie has been forced to survive in this world for 5 years. She's picked up a lot of lessons from Joel, but she's had to learn a lot of stuff on her own.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have the same kind of impressive physicality like the raw bulk that Joel has. So she's had to be a lot more kind of creative and strategic in using her agility and using every resource at her disposal to kind of overcome these overwhelming odds. So that's why she's able to dodge enemies in order to handle multiple enemies at once. We're seeing that very kind of kinetic melee system that we have. It's a lot deeper than the original. That's why we've added a jump button to kind of add verticality and a little bit more of a platforming element to her escapes. So just in general, her moveset is a lot more creative, a lot more agility focused, but still extremely deadly.
I personally like that we age our characters kind of over in real time. Like we did similar thing with Uncharted 4 with like an older Drake, and kind of similarly here we get to see as we've aged as developers, and the character gets to grow up with us. So I don't know, I'm excited that we get to see Ellie as in her late teens.
And I got to point out just the technical mastery here on that kiss. That is extremely difficult to make a kiss between two non-human characters, essentially look that realistic. So incredible job there. And we're going to dive into a little bit of the gameplay that we got to look at here. Tell me what the overall design goal was for this game. Where was your head at?
So overall, we're really inspired by sequels that take risks. We like it when sequels don't just make incremental improvements over the prior success. With this game, we really wanted to take a hard look at every subsystem in the game, question all our assumptions, and ask ourselves, like, how can we take this to the next level? How can we make a quantum leap with this system? So it's just like one small example, the stealth system. We've introduced analog stealth. So it used to be kind of binary, whether an enemy could see you or not. But now the combination of the stealth foliage, the foliage that Ellie is able to move through, and her stance, whether she's standing, crouched, or prone, those two factors combine to kind of influence how well enemies are able to see you. So it creates a much more nuanced, kind of deep system. And we've kind of taken that same approach with melee, crafting, traversal, just across the board with all the gameplay systems.
Sort of a higher fidelity in these systems that we know from The Last of Us Part 1.
Both in terms of the choice that is available to the player strategically, but then that choice is represented with the Naughty Dog level of fidelity.
Yep.
So
I mean,
it's kind of like those
gorgeous.
two pieces, create the experience.
Excellent.
Yeah, just something like going prone sounds simple, but the vegetation it allows us to do and the different combat spaces that allows us to create, now we have to think about, the enemy AI now has to check under things, and there's all these new interesting areas that we can let the player go, and how to use prone in a variety of situations, going inside vegetation, going under cars, being on top of something and being prone to hide from an enemy below. So yeah, it's something that's simple, and then there's like all these interesting gameplay things that we can get out of it. So it's like those, where do we get those big wins for what we can do in design and really give the player more breadth of strategy and options.
Ellie is obviously a very accomplished survivor now. So how do you strike that balance between making the player feel empowered when they're controlling Ellie, but also making the world feel like an incredibly dangerous place to be?
I think the thing is that we've escalated both. So you'll see that the AI is even smarter than the first game. You can see them constantly coordinating with each other, relaying the knowledge that they know about. You can see them referring to each other by name, kind of even showing the depths to which we're trying to represent these as like real intelligent humans. And then at the same time, Ellie has become even more capable, between the dodge or her new crafting items like the explosive arrow, giving you kind of this very deadly long-range option. So by bringing up both at the same time, we're both increasing the tension. But every way that the player is able to deal with these challenges has to be strategic. You have to kind of be creative and use every resource at your disposal in order to overcome these very intelligent enemies.
One of the things I want to point out here is this melee combat is Ellie has this ability to sort of dodge very quickly. She's much more nimble than Joel was in the first game. So tell me a little bit about how that melee system kind of comes together in The Last of Us Part 2.
So we really, again, wanted to kind of question our assumptions about the melee system and ask ourselves, what can we do to make this deeper, more complicated? So by giving the player a defensive option, it's really like adding a whole new dimension to the melee combat. So it's almost like going from 2D to 3D. So not only does it give the player the ability to manage multiple enemies at once, it really creates just a system where you need to know when is your time to go in and when you kind of have to play defensively and back off. And one thing I think is really cool is that we're able to bring the depth kind of other, like a more traditional melee-focused game, but kind of pair it with the fidelity of a Naughty Dog game. So whenever she does a dodge, there's this whole pretty intricate system where it examines the direction of the incoming melee strike, and she does something contextual that is always kind of, that honors where that move is coming from.
That's a great detail. That is some high-end stuff there.
It also allows us to have different weapon types that the enemies use. We see the bigger guy at the end there with his big pickaxe.
Yep.
And he's got a kind of a different set of things. He's blocking attacks. So blocking and parrying is a feature of this new system. We have dodging and different types of weapons. We have smaller handheld weapons and then bigger two-handed weapons and these really big weapons. So there's all this different complexity of how the weapons interact with each other and how the bigger enemies can swing and interact with the environment, hit things and knock them off. And then, yeah, he can pick you up and throw you through the environment all systemically. So it's really exciting to really develop that in the heat of a stealth encounter. To be able to have these melee engagements it just adds another, like Anthony said, it's like going from 2D to 3D of, the depth of combat.
Every time I watch this, I just see new visual details in animation and lighting that I didn't notice the last time.
I mean, it seems like no matter how bad it gets in these combat situations, there's always something you can do to escape. You've always got an option. I mean, how did you design the game in such a way that it feels like that you're on the edge, but you're never completely down?
So it's, again, it's a very desperate world. It's very high pressure with these very intelligent enemies. But one thing that's kind of important for people to realize about this demo is this is just one possible playthrough through this space. So I think at any given time, I think perceptive viewers will notice that the player didn't have to go this way. They could have gone this completely other way. She didn't even have to go into this store. So kind of the combination of these very wide, kind of lush environments with the very intelligent AI that kind of is able to coordinate and react to every choice that you're making, along with kind of this new suite of player abilities. I think players are going to be surprised at kind of the very emergent, unique moments that they're able to get based on their own choices in the space.
How stealthy can you be in it? Could you technically sneak through this entire area without engaging any enemies at all?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the goals for us is we always like when you can stealth by. And, one of the pillars of this is to give the player as many options in combat, and one of those options is to not fight. Yeah. So, depending on the space, depending on the story, depending on a lot of things, but we always want to encourage, whatever play style the player chooses. And yeah, like you mentioned, escaping is like a big thing, and we always want to feel like every space has somewhere to escape to or a way out where confrontation isn't the only option. So that's kind of built into all of our levels, the hiding places and vegetation and just escape routes in general.
And escape is always like kind of a critical part of The Last of Us, like kind of core combat loop. So it's about these like moments of extreme tension when enemies don't know exactly where you are. When you get discovered, it kind of explodes into action, and you're kind of like forced to like fight very actively for your life. But then with kind of the new features like the jump button or being able to squeeze through tiny gaps or prone under stuff, we've like kind of increased the depth of even just running away from your enemies. It now has kind of a lot more dimensionality to it.
No, we got a quick look at the crafting menu there as well, just a few seconds ago, and we heard you mention, and we saw sort of results of explosive arrow. So I'm curious what the thought process is around crafting at this point. I know you guys are still deep in development, things can change, but where are you thinking in terms of crafting?
We wanted the Last of Us 1 has like a very elegant crafting system, and for us, that core trade-off of even just the recipes and what you can craft and how the things overlap, we've expanded it so that we can have some new elements to give the player a broader range of options, but also have these overlaps in the recipes. So even in the heat of combat, when it's like I can craft these two things, but if I craft this, I'm going to lose this, and holy crap!
Do I heal or do I make a Molotov cocktail? It's the classic example.
That classic example kind of layered in more depth in the crafting system.
That's terrific. Are you still looking at having, and again, this is early days, but upgradable weapons? That was something that was a lot of fun to play around with in the first game as well.
Yeah, we have upgradable weapons, and like we said, different craftable ammo types. So yeah, we're going to be talking about more of the player upgrade stuff. We're rethinking again, challenging all our assumptions about player upgrades, weapon upgrades, and we'll be talking more about that in the future.
With craftable ammo types, what's really cool about it is that it kind of creates this connection between the crafting system and the gunplay system. So we really like trying to bridge these gaps so that different systems can synergize and interplay with each other.
Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself or anything here, but we did see human enemies in this. Presumably, the infected are still running around, making people's lives difficult. So what can you tell us about just sort of the broad strokes of how you're approaching that?
So we can't talk too much about the infected, but we can say that they still are a very big threat in this world, and that we will be featuring new types of infected in The Last of Us Part 2.
Cool. Good to hear.
I mean, how open is the world? We saw the combat situation there, and you've mentioned that the areas are quite big, and you can approach situations in multiple different ways. Like, was that a goal of yours, to make the environments feel bigger and more open?
Yeah, this is the first Last of Us on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. So we're taking that idea of, giving the player more options, giving the player a little more width on some spaces. It always, of course, depends on the story, depends on the tension we're trying to get in a given moment. But yeah, and also the idea of kind of seamlessness is just something we always try to push for in our games, and that extending into the layout of levels and where a combat space is and where isn't a combat space. What is an explore space? What's a combat space? Kind of blurring that line a little bit and making sure the player's on their toes as far as like where a threat could be in the world.
This is something that Kurt's been pushing really hard on, which I'm a super big fan of, is this sense of like kind of never really knowing quite when a combat space ends and the next one begins. And not only does it mean that there's this very consistent sense of threat, but it really strengthens the sense of place and the sense of immersion that the player has, because you feel like without kind of the, oh, this is a combat space, this isn't, which even if it's subliminal, I think players pick up on, by kind of making it a little bit more analog, a little more seamless, you really feel like you're in these locations.
That's great. Game is obviously looking fantastic, and Kurt, one thing I did want to point out as well is, you had a key role in Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which introduced a lot of this sort of more open sandbox feel, and I would imagine that some of that would sort of rub off, so to speak, on The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, has it influenced the development of the game, or do you see them as different things?
I mean, we always, every project you work on, at least at Naughty Dog, you look at that genre, you look at that game, and it's, what is the best thing for evolving that franchise? And obviously, when we work on different projects, it's not just me. Almost everyone at Naughty Dog works on every single project, so everyone learns a little bit, even if it's just some tech thing or some technique of how to do something, and then it gets brought over to the next project. So in a lot of ways, yeah, like The Last of Us 1 has influenced Uncharted 4, has influenced Lost Legacy, and we just kind of keep building on what is useful and what does make sense to bring the skills that we've developed in making something for Uncharted into making something that's specifically for The Last of Us.
That's awesome. So it's very much its own beast, The Last of Us, as it should be. Looking fantastic, looking just gorgeous. I can't wait to play it. We know you guys are still heavy in development, so we won't get into release timing yet. I know you're not ready for any of that, but Rob, do you have any final questions for our guests?
I mean, I just can't wait to play it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is for me. Like, when do I get to play?
No, I think actually, the thing I'm so stoked about is, if you just look at this demo and you imagine a whole game that is like this, I just get so excited about that prospect. I'm so proud of what the team was able to accomplish with this, and I can't wait to reveal more about the game later.
Awesome.
All right, well, thank you, gentlemen. Very impressive new look at The Last of Us Part 2. Learned a lot more about mechanics and systems and just how the game plays, and it's no surprise that it looks right up to Naughty Dog quality bar there. So great job. Can't wait to see more.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, fellas. Yeah, thank you.
And we'll be back with the closing moments of the PlayStation Live from E3 presentation. Stay with us.
PlayStation.
Scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate our kiss from last night?
Look who decided to join us. All right. You all know the drill. Run your routes. Mark your logbooks. You run into anything you can't handle.
Ellie!
You come back.
Dino, where are you? Get off me! Please stop! No!
Tommy, I have to finish it.
You have no idea what you're walking into.
What are you doing?
You don't know how large that group is, how armed.
I don't care. You can't stop this. What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
PlayStation.
think we should go out like Eugene.
From a stroke?
No, from old age. Like living a long life.
You? No way. Come on. You're way too reckless.
Oh, look who's talking.
Well, you'll probably die from hypothermia from wearing canvas sneakers in the snow.
I am wearing boots today. You know how you're gonna die?
Ooh, let me guess. You're gonna kill me? Did I ruin your punchline?
No. Maybe. Fuck you.
Sorry.
I see spores in there. Masks on. Got it. Remember, I don't want to have to shit you in the face.
Oh, that's so sweet. All these spores mean they've been here for a while. Keep your eyes peeled for older infected.
Yep. Is this part of the supermarket?
I don't know. I think we're above it.
Let's get to the ground floor.
Blind motherfuckers make my skin crawl.
Let's make sure the rest of the building's cleared out. And then get the fuck out of here.
Speaking my language.
This is dumb. We should be pushing in.
We hold the perimeter until we hear otherwise. Keep an eye out in case he comes this way.
I got something.
Shit. Infected?
Let's get in there. Okay, girl. Sniff it out. You think this guy's connected to the girl from the school?
That'd be a hell of a coincidence if they weren't.
I hate these small groups. Big groups, it's a straight fight. These loners, they could be hiding anywhere.
Hey! We got another trespasser. A girl. Did you see her?
No, but the fucking guy is nearby.
Shit.
We're looking for two!
Fuck's all that smoke?
He blew up one of our trucks.
How'd you let that happen?
Just find them. I want those fucking trespassers!
Pick something up, boy?
There.
Go on.
What is it? Someone took him out!
We got something. I'll go see what's up.
Well, found off. Lee?
Oh, hear that?
Another one! I want every building in the area searched.
By the fence! Smoke in there! Smoke her out!
Could be useful.
Whoa!
Got a scent?
Yeah. Ashley. Got something. We'll look into it.
Stop fucking around here!
Oh, we looked. Nothing.
Okay.
Anyone got a visual? You might have something. Smell something, boy?
We lost another soul!
There you go.
Come on, find anything?
fuck is this? Some kind of bomb?
It's been about a year and a half since we showed anything from The Last of Us Part 2. In that time, we've really been kind of like heads down, quiet, because we want to make sure we have the proper time to do this game justice.
It's definitely our most ambitious in scope game that we've ever made.
We really wanted to wait until we had something awesome and new and exciting to talk about because we've been so mysterious.
Outbreak Day has always been a way for us to communicate with the fans about The Last of Us. It was like the day the outbreak happened in the fictional world of The Last of Us. And once we had this opportunity to line everything up for Outbreak Day, or in this case, kind of an Outbreak Week, we decided to put out a story trailer with the date of when the game's coming out, and then show the press actual gameplay, let them get hands-on with the game. We're always trying to strike a balance of getting people excited for this game, show them a bit more of a glimpse of the themes this game is about, the cycle of violence, this idea of how far would you go to exact revenge to bring justice to the people you love. And then we also show that Joel is back and you get to see him for the first time.
What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
So we're coming into that first demo in wintertime where snow covers much of the ground, much of the buildings, all the surrounding areas. We see what's life like 25 years after a pandemic has wiped out most of mankind. We pick up Ellie, who was 14 in the first game, is now 19. She's living in the city, Jackson.
Which is where Ellie and Joel have been living for the past 4 years in this sweet settlement. What we come upon is their regular day-to-day life. We're coming in on Ellie and Dina, her best friend, patrolling the outskirts of Jackson, looking for infected to clear out to keep the area safe.
Ellie and Dina at this point have been friends for several years, but there's been underlying romance between these two characters. From the demo we put at E3, where you saw this festival and this dance, and these two characters kissed for the first time, this demo takes place the day after.
And then over the course of the level, they encounter some truly dangerous things.
We wanted just across the board to make the enemies more threatening, to raise the tension that we started establishing with the first game. So that means the infected, even the lowest class, the runners, are more dangerous.
Something that was really important to us was empowering all of our characters, right, and making them all equal. Ellie, as we saw in the first game, is incredibly capable, but this is a world where you need to be capable to survive, and we wanted to empower everybody.
And the way that reflects in combat is, yeah, Dina is way more effective.
So when we have Dina going out, well, she may seem the less hardened character. She knows how to use a gun, she knows how to stealth, she knows how to kill a clicker as well as Ellie.
When we were looking to expand on The Last of Us 1 to The Last of Us 2, one of the things that jumped out as being an avenue that was really worth exploring was traversal. Ellie is so much more agile, kind of more athletic, that it seemed like we should really pursue this whole avenue of gameplay. Introducing like a real jump, like a real arcing jump, has allowed us to make for much more interesting puzzles, more interesting vertical environments, and can frequently integrate well into combat setups as well.
She's able to move quickly in a lot of different ways. She can dodge attacks. She can squeeze through, we call them squeeze-throughs. Oh, looks like I could fit through that. Oh, I can fit through that, that's cool.
And that has been such a great integration into the combat loop of like, you're fleeing an enemy, or you're trying to get a flank, you're in stealth, and you just kind of like scooch into a room or behind an object. In The Last of Us, you kind of rely on your weaponry. Like, they're frequently the difference between life and death. They're with you for the entire game. A lot of the gameplay choices that you make are based on how you use them, how you evolve them over time through your upgrades. We really wanted to give an opportunity to look at them up close, to interact with them physically. And so the workbench seemed like the ideal place to do that.
I think over the course of the level, just talking about the tech for a second of just a snowy environment, we've got all the deforming snow stuff you'd expect, brushing by on horseback, a branch in the snow falling and collecting on the horse, like all these things you would expect in a realistic grounded world. We have this weather, the storm kind of kicks up. Over the course of the level, it goes from more of a clear day into a blizzard. It's all just to build this tension of, the mess that they got themselves into. Can they make it safely out?
Dina, where are you?
Eventually, they end up in this old abandoned library. And it's in this moment where Dina really pokes and wants to get the ball rolling on this flirtation, wants to bring down Ellie's walls.
And they kind of reveal to each other how much they like each other.
You're infuriating. Have you met you?
And then we have a second demo that the press played that's like much later in this story where Ellie has started going down this road of revenge. She finds herself in Seattle, pitted against this group that controls the city.
Called the WLF. They're kind of a little bit like a militia that has taken over the town, and they have a very zero-tolerance policy on people who are not from Seattle, kind of intruding on their space.
And she hears over the radio that a male trespasser has been spotted, and she knows that the WLF are closing in on him. And so we find her negotiating this abandoned hillside suburb.
And she's running into this new enemy type of guard dogs that the WLF are using. Dogs have a new sense of perception to bring to the table, which kind of puts this really interesting wrinkle on stealth gameplay, where so far you've been dealing with sight and sound, trying to stay out of sight, trying to move slowly to be quiet. But now with enemy dogs, you have to worry about them picking up your scent trail.
If you go into listen mode, you can see, we have a visualization of that scent, so you can see like when the dog is sniffing you and where it's going. You can throw bottles to distract the dog off of your scent, and it just adds this extra tension.
The second part of the demo, even though you're fighting mostly human enemies, we're introducing one of our new infected classes, the Shambler.
And the Shambler is kind of a lumbering, tankier enemy that can take a lot of punishment. They'll kind of chase you down and try to get towards you and then burst and leave behind one of these lingering, corrosive clouds.
In the demo, we have this mini boss fight, and that class happens to be a Stalker. It's a class between runners and clickers. It's a class that can hide and run away, and we wanted to do a lot more with them in this game. And because we have this evade mechanic, you can kind of go toe-to-toe with someone, and we can have these boss fights that we weren't able to have before. So you guys can go back and forth and exchange combos and evade each other and slam each other onto like desks, and we can now render all these physics objects, and it's all done in service of just grounding you more in this world, making you more immersed in this fight and feel like Ellie is barely surviving by the edge of her abilities.
So for The Last of Us 2, we've kind of almost completely overhauled the player upgrade system. For the first time in the game, you're able to learn entirely new crafting recipes just via the upgrade system. These are abilities that make your character feel really different. You are really able to pursue the playstyle of your choice and kind of make the Ellie that you're playing your individual Ellie.
We designed the whole experience to be something where it's a balanced stealth experience where you have a lot of tools to escape, you have a lot of tools to evade, you can entirely stealth past everyone.
Got something. We'll look into it.
And then the other big thing we did to immerse the player is make the human enemies much more threatening. They communicate a lot more between each other. Their AI is much more sophisticated. We rewrote most of the systems for this game. So much of this game is a conversation about the cycle of violence and how do we make violence feel impactful to the player.
You can't stop this.
Enemies have names. So when you're going around and you shoot someone, you might hear someone yell their buddy's name and they're now upset and agitated and that changes their behavior.
What is it? Someone took him out!
We got something.
To make a fully realized world, to really honor the impact of this violence, you have to honor every person in it. Nobody's a hero here.
The demo is 2 to 3 hours of the game. You're seeing 2 different seasons, 2 different times of the year. It feels like a lot, and it's a tiny fraction of this entire game. And as we get closer to release, we're going to show more and more of the game, but we're going to be very mindful and conscious to not spoil like big things about this game. And I'm just super stoked for people to finally see the whole thing once it's out on February 21st, 2020.
PlayStation